Hello, friends. Hello. Hello, and welcome. Welcome to our July forecast. Welcome to Freaky Fridays. Welcome to the podcast in general. Get myself all situated here in my chair. Got a lot of fun goodness to share. I'm rearranging my setup here as I'm going along. But I want to get us all settled in first and foremost. So thank you so much for joining me here at the podcast. If you're a new watcher or listener, then welcome here. You could be listening on a major podcast provider because we're all over the place. iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Books, Google Books. You know what I mean. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, we're there. We're on YouTube, that's where we're doing the Freaky Fridays. I'm just trying to get settled into the energy of this episode. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for joining me here yet again around this sacred circle, which we will invoke here in just a moment. This is our July forecast. Like I said earlier, we're doing it slightly different today. So I want to get us all into sacred space so that the guides that are working with me in this now can start to surround you as well. So you choose how you want to listen or watch me today. You might just be here for the forecast and you don't care about all the other, you don't care about the other stuff. You just want to know what's going to happen in July. You can choose to take your experience an octave higher. Join me around the sacred fire circle as I wrap all of us. Which way do I want? I do this every time. As I wrap us all in love, light, and light, love, inviting in the spirit guides, wisdom keepers, Anam Cara, totems, angels, deities, dragons, mermaids, merfolk, whoever wants to join us here on this podcast episode. And you can choose to take your listening experience an octave higher, inviting in your own spirit guides, totems, wisdom keepers, elders, fairy folk, whoever you typically work with to help share with you any additional messages, meanings that might be coming from what we're going to talk about today for July. Before we get started, it's a very purpley time, purplish, lavenderish time right now. I don't know if that's indicative of the month of July, purple, or it's not it's more lavender, which they say is like the ray that Kuan Yin is on. And I did have Kuan Yin come in, Mother Mary, some of the Sisters of the Rose, and I have the archangels here, Gabriel, Metatron right now. They're all gonna be here, Sandalphon, Raphael, those colors, the color rays that are indicative of those archangels are here. So emerald green, like a diamond light for Gabriel. Metatron is like a tangerine gold. So you may start seeing these color rays show up more around you. The candle we have lit today is a relax candle, lavender, jasmine, and chamomile. And I'm getting ready to light our incense, which is, look, lavender again. Cherry blossoms is the smell, the fragrance. And they never say, it's always like the same base, and then they never really say what exactly it's always a base of sandalwood, cinnamon, benzoin, clove, and spices. So they're proprietary secrets. I just liked the colors. So let's go ahead and light that. swoosh that around all of you. Swoosh the smoke. Try not to use so much sage and Palo Santo and all that all of the time. I like these Japanese incenses. I'm gonna run out of room, run out of space. So here's what we're going to do for this July forecast. I want to, what do I want to do? I want to back up slightly to this past month of June. The Beatles have been showing up a lot too for some reason. It's I don't know where someone gave this to me, Beatles cup. Let's back up to June for a second before we just jump into July, because I am recording this in June. June is not completely over yet. There's still like about a week left of June. We still have work to do in June with Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke. So we're still working in June, but this July story, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read an energy story, and it's from Root Beer Float, which we started, I don't know when we started reading it. We're going to have to get all up to speed on that story, but it's coming in for July because we're going to start working with the Bringers of the Light again in July. We've been working with the Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke through the energy stories. If you're not familiar with all this, I'll try to quickly catch you up, because if you're new here, you may be like, what in the world? So there's all these resources all month long, but the monthly forecast for the month kind of starts with all of the energies that we will be working with throughout the month. So I'm also an author of channeled fiction books, which is where all of these energy stories come from as well. So you may have come here via my books, all of my ebooks, let's put it this way, all of my books in ebook form are free to read at all major ebook retailers. So Barnes & Noble, Apple, Google, Kobo, whatever that, I've never really been to Kobo, and through my ebook publisher, Smashwords. So I write these stories, most of them show up here on the show in some way, shape, or form. And because we're in the spirit of purpley, I did put up The Stallion Returns, which is from the Thunder Rose collection. And there are paper books to all the there's paper books to most of the ebooks right now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But that one wanted to show up for whatever reason. That one's very crazy. That one can get a little 18, I'm not gonna say 18 plus. That one goes a little bit into erotica. I'm not gonna say 18 plus. It can go into erotica, the Thunder Rose collection. So maybe erotica is showing up for the month of July. But anyway, so I write channeled fiction. You can, if you're interested in the books, ebooks, whatever, you can go check that out. I also design and create oracle card decks through Make Playing Cards, and the link to my online store is in my show notes, just in case you're interested in just seeing what those look like. We've got 2 new decks coming this month. They just finished making my decks that I ordered for Shaman's Drum and for Twin Hearts deck. So I'm waiting patiently to receive those from the printer so that we can start using them. So we'll start using them in July, but today we're going to be working with Happy Cloud. This is one of my decks. We're going to be working with just one of my homemade decks, the Labyrinth of Dragonshire, just to get some further clarification on the energy story. And then we'll be working with the Mermaid Tarot by Dame Darcy. So mermaids are coming in. I don't know who our spirit guide is yet for July. I'm not quite sure. So I think I know, but I'm just gonna wait and kind of see. All right. We also started, for those of you that are interested, a new series here on the podcast called People Plus Pets, or Pets Plus People, however you want to look at that. So if your pet is in need of any healing, well, they're always in need of healing. As a matter of fact, I need to do some energy healing on mine today, but I haven't gone to it yet. But you can take a look. That's the episode right before this. We did some energy healing for pets, and I talked about the purpose of this episode and what it means for you, the podcast family. So we're going to be working with pets and people more often. If you've been following us for a while, I'm so glad you just keep coming back to me and our little podcast family. But in June, we did something kind of interesting, and I'm still trying to figure out like how it all comes into play. How things that I've noticed within the different story collections, the different book series collections, are the stories are starting to interweave to each other. So they're all channeled through me, from source, through the personas and the energies in the stories, via the pages, through the pages, down onto the paper, whatever. It's not paper, but I forget it. It would take too long to write them down, but onto the pages, via like automatic writing or stream of consciousness writing is where all of my books and stuff that you hear on the podcast comes from. We did a series of work in June with the Divine Masculine SOS series and the Sisters for the Sword series, where we had the Divine Feminine through the Sisters of the Sword go on a scavenger hunt. And if you haven't done it, it's not too late to do it. Just go, they're in playlists too. If you're listening in Spotify, they're in playlists, or YouTube, there's playlists. You can go to the Sisters for the Sword playlist, or you scroll back a little bit in the podcast and look for Sisters for the Sword scavenger hunt. And there were 3 items that the Divine Feminine was supposed to find. And you weren't looking for them, they just like, Spirit just gave them to you. You had to like be out somewhere and like some object would show itself, and then your intuition would be like, that's for you. And you would pick it up and be like, I don't really know what this is all about, but it's one of my 3 objects. And then we blessed and consecrated and energized, charged up those objects in our summer, well, it was summer for me, the solstice celebration we did a few episodes back. And then we worked with the Divine Masculine through Divine Masculine SOS. Again, there's a playlist for that. If you're a Divine Masculine, even if you're not, if you're a Divine Masculine, doesn't matter, no gender, doesn't matter. If you identify as Divine Masculine, and even me, I did them both, right? Because within were Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine anyway, so I did both of them. But we downloaded to you through and from your Akashic Records a treasure map that you're supposed to be kind of intuitively following. We activated it via light language, and you're supposed to be kind of intuitively following what the treasure map is all about. This morning I came in and I've been working with one of the little objects. One of them for me was some weird little connector thing that had to do with twin flame energy. The other was a little beekeeper guy. He was a mystery Lego blind bag or whatever that my son and I picked up on my birthday on June the 3rd, and I didn't know which one I was gonna get, and you open it and you're surprised, and I got this beekeeper guy, and I'm like, how does that apply to me? I don't know. And then the third thing, which is not here right now, it was a little blue ball, and I said, oh, the blue ball showed up when I was listening to Tracy Aloha, Pink Bella Aloha Therapy. And she was talking, she pulled a card for Pleiadian Blue Dragons, and right when she did that, she said, oh, the Pleiadians are coming in on the blue ray or whatever with blue dragons. And I looked down and there was a little blue ball, and I'm like, oh, Pleiadians were the first star family that ever reached out to me via light language way back now. And so I'm like, I know this little blue ball is meant for me, but I don't know how it's playing into anything. Today, come to find out, through my little, you know how your phone, your Google Photos or your photos is like 5 years ago today or 4 years ago today, and gives you like a little nostalgia picture. I like looking at those, and sometimes I don't, but it was 5 years ago today, showed up on my phone, and I'm like, what was 5 years ago today? And I clicked on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was a picture of my breakfast. Okay, so this is leading somewhere. It's not just like me rambling. What is it, Wendy waffling, like unexpected gypsy. She's a YouTuber. But anyway, I'm not waffling. This is going somewhere. It was this breakfast I was eating in Maui as I was listening to Braca Goldsmith, she's an astrologer, channel the Pleiadians for one of the first times, because she must have just started channeling them in right around that time. And I remember I was in tears at the channeling because it was just so beautiful. And that day was so, well, every day in Maui is perfect as far as I'm concerned. The weather, the day in Maui was perfect. I was there hanging out and having a really interesting adventure that I won't go into here. My breakfast was so good. It must be like everything tastes better in Maui. My breakfast was so good. So I took a picture of it, and the Pleiadians were there with me. And it was like 5 years ago today. And then this morning, I'm preparing for this episode because I'm like, somehow these objects have got to start showing us what they're here for. And the blue ball is missing. So the blue ball is gone. And I'm like, but the blue ball is the Pleiadian, it has to do with the Pleiadians. And so I thought that was quite interesting, like, where has the blue ball gone? So I looked all over the place, and at the time I couldn't find it. After I channeled this story, I see it now where it's at. But at the time I'm channeling our energy story for July, I couldn't find the blue ball. It was gone. And it's really just like right under my nose. It's down somewhere, down here, down like behind something. I saw it. But at the time we channeled our energy story for July, it was missing. So what this means, and you know if you follow the energy story, so every Sunday I do an energy story, and what it is like metaphors and stuff. It's a lot of the ebooks that are already out there. So like all the ebooks that are bringers of the light books all started as energy stories on the podcast. And now the spirit guides of Tessa Locke. But where the hell was I going? I don't freaking know. Anyway, I was channeling the energy story for July, which we're going to read here in a minute. And the bringers of the light are coming back for July. They were kind of on a hiatus, and they're now going somewhere else. And I'm not going to recap the whole story. I think when we bring them back in July on Sundays, we'll kind of get us back up to speed, because we're already to chapter 4. But if you've never heard the series, then you don't know what's going on there. So we're gonna drop in on chapter 4. This is for July, so here we go. So what's happening for July is I think you're gonna start to see somehow how your little 3 scavenger hunt items play into your treasure map. I do also have to say, before I get into this story, and really this is all of this, don't go and timestamp my video and say, oh, the actual July forecast starts at whatever time it is, because you need to hear the whole. I'm like, don't do that. You need to hear the whole thing, because everything I'm saying leads up to the July forecast. So if I see that, I think I'm gonna probably take it out. Don't timestamp my thing, okay? It's important to hear the whole thing. It's a progression. All the work I do is a progression. It's all the good stuff, friends, okay? When we started earlier in June with the Spirit Guides of Tessa Locke, we said, oh, we're gonna go on an adventure, and the pirate Jean Lafitte showed up through the channeling with Dartmoor Selkie. And the Spirit's like, everyone's gonna play a joke on you and timestamp your video. Yes, there's a lot of like, that's why the Pleiadians are here too, because they have to deal a lot with the inner child and getting into like having fun. So Jean Lafitte showed up. He was a pirate back in the 1800s, like a real life person. And he showed up in our channeling for early June. And then what started to happen for me, I don't know if it happened for you at all, but through the month of June, if you're following me, it should have been happening for you too, because you're entering into a sacred container of some of the work that we're doing. And just by the effect of being in the energy of this, even if you don't listen to all the stuff for June, even if you just pop in for one, you kind of end up being pulled into the energy of what's going on. And so what happened is, the past week or so, my son and I started like embarking on these, I called them like morning adventures, and I was putting them in my YouTube shorts, just a few of them. But we just got drawn into these amazing adventures under the guise of like looking for something. And I will share more. I think I'll share more about that next week of what all that is, what all's happening, just kind of some interesting things that have shown up. But you're gonna start seeing these play out. But adventures started showing up in June, and I think that continues even more. Although, based on this energy story for July, it seems like a lot is being left to magic. Yeah, our guides are they're not, it's not that they're getting mischievous. I think the earth elementals are getting mischievous. I think a lot is happening behind the scenes, and there's a lot of playful energy, but there's also a lot of like, what's going on here energy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the channeling of the chapter for July. This is part of the forecast. We're going to pull some cards to just ask Spirit to clarify a couple of things. And then I think we're going to leave it there, and we will come back. I think we're going to have one more episode leading into July, where we're going to bring in some of the missing elements that we don't have here right now. So this is Root Beer Float. We have left off where, if you're a Bringers of the Light fan, you're really excited that these stories are coming. I'm really excited they're coming back. So Abigail, who is our Divine Feminine, is at the airport waiting for Dakar to show up. I think she showed up in our, did we channel the last chapter in our solstice episode? I don't remember. But she's waiting at the airport for Dakar. Dakar is her twin flame. Whatever. He's her divine counterpart. I'm so tired of the labels. He's her twin. It doesn't matter. It's her divine counterpart. And he's supposed to be meeting her at the airport. Someone is watching her at the airport. Somebody from her past is watching her. These are metaphors, you guys. Someone from her past is watching her at the airport. She doesn't know who it is. This person is trying to get close to her. Her familiar, who is a raven, shapeshifted into a person, into a man, to come meet her come be with her at the airport because he wants to go to Oakwood. So they're traveling from Rockaway Point, which is the home base of my Ireland Bringers of the Light, and they're going to Oakwood, which is a town, an etheric town, in the Pacific Northwest in the US. So they're at the airport. They've been reassigned. So Bringers of the Light is like light alchemists, light warriors, light workers. They've been reassigned by their boss to go help out Oakwood, who has some sort of a, some energy that they need more assistance than what they can with the few Bringers of the Light that they have in the Pacific Northwest. So while Abigail is waiting for Dakar, this is where we drop in to the July energy forecast. And okay, so hold on, let me back up for July, August, and September. So my guides gave me for all 3 months, all quarters of the year, different higher level topics. And we've been working through nomads, something about nomads in the past 3 months, which has kind of started to play out. It was about adventures and being nomadic. Now we're moving into July, August, and September, and we're starting with signs and portents, or signs and omens. The Holy Maid Manifest is the overarching energy that they gave me for July, August, and September. So we're starting to delve into what does that mean, and that's where we drop into this channeling, which is chapter 4 of Root Beer Float, July Full Moon. Dakar was running late as usual. He was supposed to meet Abigail at the airport, but something else had caught his attention. A small blue ball, this is channeling, you guys, I did not just write this in. A small blue ball had rolled across the floor and right out the front door as he was pulling out his rolling bag. As there's truly no happenstance, he knew he needed to follow it. The ball was being moved onward by the wind, a light and carefree breeze that soothed. Dakar saw the ball rolling towards the bayfront, and he picked up his pace slightly. He couldn't go at this too long, or he might miss his flight. This could always be nothing at all, he thought, as he wondered what others would think, seeing him running after a small ball. The ball, being carried by otherworldly light, bounced joyfully down the sidewalk as it passed Crust, Abigail's bake shop, and kept going. Abigail had closed the shop for the summer, not knowing how long she would be gone to the States. The ball bounced on as Dakar ran past Crust, and his mind went to Abigail, most likely waiting for him at the airport by now. The ball made a slight turn down a dark alley outside of the Fork and Spoon and kept going, passing the back entrance to the Where Begone Tavern, and finally came to rest outside the back door of one Mr. Albie Chalmers. Now, friend, you might recall Mr. Chalmers from our dear Argyle Inn some stories back. That was in December, you guys. For the winter solstice, we wrote the Argyle Inn. We were working with the Argyle Inn. So let me just break in. So if you hear this and you're like, Argyle Inn, you've never heard of it, or you want to remember what it is or whatever, all those episodes are in the podcast, or the Argyle Inn is now in ebook form. It's a short, a lot of these stories are short reads, like under 100 pages. And if you want to get caught up with, because it sounds like we're working with Argyle Inn stuff again for July, then you can go to Smashwords. The link is in my show notes, and you can go check out the Argyle Inn. Those are all activations too, just saying. These are all stories written with intention. A lot of them are light code activations. A lot of them have tons of metaphors. They're all energy stories. They're written to help uplift or heal or bring to you whatever you most need as you're interacting and reading them. So you can choose to see them, just like I say at the beginning of every podcast. You can choose to just read them like a story and like, oh, that's a whatever cute story. Or you can choose to interact more deeply with them, reading them in sacred space and calling in whatever healing or whatever it is that needs to come to you from the energies that are part of the story. So they're written very highly charged energy stories, just so you're clear on what that's all about. So we said, now friend, you might recall Mr. Chalmers from our dear Argyle Inn some stories back. Albie, someone taken aback by his love Maggie's sudden turn for the better, had decided he couldn't live in this weird relationship any longer. It was best that they part for a while. So Albie had left Maggie behind at the Argyle and had purchased a flat/record store right in the heart of Rockaway Point. Okay, I do want to stop one more time and say something here too about these stories. What I'm noticing, and you guys are commenting, you guys are sending me emails and stuff saying stuff that comes up in the stories is part of your own physical reality. So as you guys are interacting with this, I think we're kind of like pulling in little bits and pieces that are kind of magical for you too. So I think that's really cool because I didn't know. Oh no, but it is so cool. Okay, so Albie had purchased a flat/record store right in the heart of Rockaway Point. The ball bounced gayfully as it did its best to point the way. Dakar finally caught up and, looking around, spotted the ball bouncing at the back door to Albie's record shop. What he lacked in creativity, Albie Chalmers made up for in his quick wit and customer service approach. He sat in a large red velvet wingback chair, holding a glass of red wine and eyeing the door. The full buck moon, it's going to be the full buck moon. So this is about the July full moon that's coming up. It's called the buck moon, which I was somewhat like, does it have to be called that? It has other names. So like, they give the full moons like names. And the first one that showed up to me is, this is the full buck moon. And I'm like, does the stag have to show up here? So the stag on the twin flame journey is a portent, is an omen of divine counterpart union, which I had kind of set on the back burner here. It's on the back, way on a back burner for now, because there's stuff I told you that we're working through that we're not ready to share until after Lionsgate, some stuff that's going on with Twin Flame Journey. But the full moon in July is called the full buck moon. And I'm like, what's a buck? Like, I don't even know what that is. And so a buck apparently is a deer, a young deer who's getting their antlers for the first time. And I'm like, okay, this is so metaphorical, divine masculine, getting your antlers for the first time. I don't know where that's going, but anyway, the full moon, and the full moon I think is closer to the end of July. I think it's July 24th is when that full moon is at. So maybe, get a little out of it here. Maybe towards the end of July, something starts to happen. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, let me get back to this. The full buck moon would be showing itself in a couple of days, and Albie was preparing for tomfoolery to arrive at the record shop. He had even pulled out the Handbook de los Santos. Okay, you guys know, if you're a Bringers of the Light fan, if you followed the Argyle Inn, this mysterious handbook is like, we don't know what it's all about yet still. The Handbook de los Santos, it always wants me to call it like that too. The Handbook de los Santos pulled it out from its hiding place under the floorboards, hoping there would be something in the book to help him get through this strange time. He had, of course, been unable to recall the incantation that unlocked the darn thing, and had put it back under the floorboards until he could get someone to help him with it. At that, the tinkle bells over the back door sounded as Dakar entered carrying a small blue ball. Albie started, recalling the whole ordeal when he last saw Dakar. Albie had been scared out of his mind and had left the Argyle to run away for a while. But here he was again, the man who had caused such strange upheaval the last time they had met. "It's you," Albie said, trembling as he stood. Dakar, never one to be surprised, even at such as strange goings-on as this July full moon was bringing, stood smiling as he watched the younger man stand to offer him his hand. "Hello," Dakar said, with the same aplomb and sensuality he exuded for all souls he encountered, was just as perplexed as Albie at this strange turn of events. "And so it is," Dakar said, bypassing Albie's outstretched hand to give him a firm pat on the back. "What are you doing here?" he asked Albie. "I've been here a while," Albie said, "but it's been quite boring until now. I suspect you're here for it," he asked Dakar, as his eyes swiveled to give away the hiding spot of the Handbook de los Santos. "I guess so," Dakar said, suddenly realizing what was happening. "May I?" Dakar asked, lifting up the floorboards to expose the book. He was in fact asking the book rather than Albie. The Handbook de los Santos answered by shooting an energy beam out and into the room. Dakar and Albie both started. No one had been able to crack the code yet. But here they were, brought together again for who knows what adventures. "Well, I guess you're both coming with me," Dakar said, motioning for the book and Albie to follow him. "Better pack a bag and find something to carry this in." Dakar flashed Albie a smile. "What are you talking about?" Albie grimaced. He was quite happy in his record shop. "We've got business to attend to elsewhere," Dakar said. "Magic and mischief are afoot again." And with that, the ragtag bunch, the wizard, the bringer of the light, and the strange Handbook de los Santos locked the door to Albie's record store and made their way back to Dakar's. They had a plane to catch, and none too soon. Okay, guys. Basically, I'm like, what is happening? I don't know where this is going. So what I want to do is draw a few cards to see if we can get an overall fix on this July stuff. And then it sounds like it's going to be July energy forecast part 2 sometime next week. There's a lot happening around the 4th. So let's just see what cards we get. I'm just gonna pull some from all the decks. Oh my God, I'm channeling and I'm so freaking hot. I turned off my ceiling fan because it makes a weird electrical humming sound. And childhood stuff is coming in. So I don't know, me and my son have been like big kids lately, but we bought on my birthday 2 ring pops. And this is like the color blue raspberry. I really wanted to put it on, but I was like, I don't want to eat it yet, so I didn't put it on. All right, so let's see what cards we got for July. So I just got this last night. So we got Happy Cloud, Luck, You Will Be Successful. We got, the 5 of Wands. I'm like, really? Is that the mischief that's afoot? And we got, is this showing the right way? Ow, ow. Which is, oh, you guys, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I don't like this card. All right, we got 3rd quarter moon. You're almost to the end. Okay. And we got water, depths, emotions, heart speak, tears, and fears. Okay, hold on a second. I can't take this. Okay, so hot. It's just dying. It's really hot where I live. It's been in like the hundreds. And I'm on the east side facing where I live, so there's no sun right now, but if I don't have air flowing when I'm channeling, it's just way too hot. Okay, so we've been at this 36 minutes, so I want to just see what they want to tell me about these cards. The 3rd quarter moon card is a 3. 3 is showing up a lot on this podcast, and we are at the beginning of a new, like I said, a new quarter of energy. So July, August, and September. We still have the Lion's Gate that we're working in with, and we're not even there yet. We've got July 4th energies. We've got the 7-7 gateway. We've got these lunations coming up for July, and it sounds like specifically around this buck moon. And then we have the Lion's Gate on 8/8. Oh, thank you, Lord. It's so much better now. So there's just a lot between now and then. Now and then being when. So now and then being Lion's Gate. But again, we can't see it all. I don't like this we can't see it all stuff. So we're working our way through the treasure map, through this maze, through this these energies of all the different portals. We've talked about this before, and it could be bringing up, there's always emotions being brought up for every little thing. But what do you guys want me to do about July? Okay, so they want me to do July part 2 sometime next week. I don't know exactly when, because they want us to finish up June. So it's almost like July teaser forecast, I guess. And I'm really like, okay, they want me to like keep note of these cards because we're going to come back to them. Maybe we're gonna have some of our other decks in too. But we're gonna come back to them and we're gonna break them down. We'll have our spirit guide coming in by then. And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to sit with this energy story for a little bit and just allow the magic, they're saying, to start to surround you that has to do with signs and omens and portents, and what that means for you as you finish out June, as more adventure and stuff starts coming into your life. What does July hold? And I will share just personally, like it's a bit of an enigma. For June, I finished, I did some energy work that was just, oh God, I can't even explain it. I did some energy work with spirit at their guidance what do we want me to say here? To sever some relationships that were going on. And because I did that, I like just feel like there's this cutoff line at the end of June to July, where July is just like this whole new life. I think it really happened with this Capricorn, this moon that just happened, that we just had yesterday as I'm recording this. And if you listen to some of the astrology, if you like Wonder Girl astrology, or even if you haven't listened to her Capricorn moon forecast that she just did, had to do with, like, again, removing things from your life that weren't serving your highest and best good. So I did some energy work, and anyway, when I did it, I was kind of like, well, now my whole future just feels up in the air. Like, I have no idea, not that it's up in the air, because obviously I'm the creator of my own reality, but I'm like, I'm not driving the boat anymore in terms of some of the manifestations that I was working on. I completely released everything to source, to spirit, to God, to the universe. Spirit came in and cleaned up a lot of energy trails that I had kind of made by trying to, quote unquote, control my reality or control my manifestations. And so now it's just like this clean blank slate, and it's like I have no idea where it's going. And so it's somewhat scary, somewhat exciting at the same time. And to hear that magic and mischief are afoot is, I guess, kind of fun, because I did say, well, now it's kind of boring because you're telling me not to have my magical fingers in anything. So it means I just am leaving it all up to the flow. Guys, that's really hard for me. One of my lessons, I think, in this lifetime is acceptance and patience, accepting things as they are. And because I do know how to do the magical workings to make things manifest. And so to be told, like, okay, we're going to totally, like, start you over again because you want to be on your highest timeline, your highest vibrational reality. And even energy work you did 6 months ago doesn't apply anymore. So it's kind of like, okay, you have to stop doing that, because things now are changing moment to moment. If we're living in the now, moment to moment, anything can happen, which you think that's true at any time. But if you're aware of how energy works and you're aware of how to be the magician, like from the tarot, then sometimes it's hard. It's very hard to take a step back and not do anything at all. And I think this could be a whole episode in and of itself, and maybe that's part of, I don't know what that, they're saying that's a Sisters for the Sword episode. Okay, Divine Feminine, we're gonna learn about the do's and don'ts of energy work. Okay, we're gonna learn about the do's and don'ts of energy work. Anyway, that's for Sisters for the Sword. Okay, so we're gonna come back next week with the July energy forecast part 2. Sounds like we have a Sisters for the Sword episode coming up about energy work. And between now and then, just integrate the crazy energy of this past lunation, this past full moon, and just enjoy the rest of your June. And we will see you all again soon in the next episode. Take care.